Hi and welcome to another episode of the Getting Things Done podcast from Vital Learning. I am Morten as always, and with me as always I have my good friend and colleague Lars Henriksen. Привет, Lars.
Привет, Morten. Good to see you as always, and as always good to be with our listeners and viewers out there. We always start off with a quick reminder of the purpose of this podcast, which is to help you learn GTD or become even better GTDers. If you're new to GTD, we always recommend you go back and listen to episodes 1 through 6 to get an introduction to the basics of GTD, the 5 steps. Today's episode number is number 91 of the podcast, and today's episode is an interview episode.
It is. I have had a chat with Martin Haagen, who's a GTD trainer in Sweden. He's going to tell us about his family life, his YouTube channel for going out and about in the world. And he is also going to talk to us about Salesforce and getting things done there, and which other tools he used for getting things done. So I think without further ado, we'll just roll the episode. Do you agree?
Yes, let's go.
Okay.
And now, our special guest.
I have the great pleasure to talk to today with Martin Haagen from Sweden. He's a GTD trainer, and he will tell us a little bit more about who he is. And I just want to welcome you, Martin, to our podcast.
Hey, Morten, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
So Martin, for those who don't know who you are and what you do, could you just give us a brief synopsis of just that?
Absolutely. So the short answer is I'm you, or Lars, in Sweden. So I'm actually representing Vital Learning in Sweden. So that's the short one. But
yeah, exactly.
I think the more interesting response to that question could be, I'm a fellow GTDer. I've been using GTD for a long time. And GTD really changed my life. And that's why I'm here. That's why I'm in the community nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
I actually was thinking back on this earlier today, this morning, when I started to work with getting things done. And it must have been 2008. So it's a while back, because it was around the time when the iPhone came out. That's kind of the marker I have in my mind for getting things done.
Good. Yeah. And what kept you going? Why didn't you just give up? A lot of people just give up after a while.
I think it's because it was such a big change for me. If I pause there and we go back a little bit to why I started to use getting things done, and it is completely a coincidence, actually, because I was working as a project manager at a web agency, and when I started there, I was just the project manager. So I had a lot of projects, and web at the time, it was chaotic. It was really hard to scope things, but when I came in, everything was chaos, but I was quite organized, so I was able to get everything working, and the customers became pretty happy. And of course, my employer thought that, oh, that guy, he is super organized. Let's make him the team lead as well. And that I didn't have the tools for. So after a while, I got so really tired, and I started to feel, these signs. I know you recognize signs like, that you felt the heart, hard to sleep. You don't remember the right things, the classical signs.
Yeah.
The guppy memory, that's my favorite. Yeah. And you always remember things when are at the wrong time. So I really started to feel bad as a person. I had bad responsibility to my customers, to my peers, and I started to get these physical signs as well. So I talked to the company healthcare. So in Sweden, we always have these places we can go to when we need help. So I talked with the psychologist there about my stress then, because it was definitely the entry point for this. So they said, we have this tool for you that you should use. And now you all think, oh, he said getting things done. But no, he didn't. He said, write everything down, put it on lists. And of course, as everyone knows, that if you have a lot in your head and if you just empty your head, that's this feeling you get. That was amazing. Yeah. So I just jotted everything down on paper. And after a while, I started to think, I need an app for this. And when I say app, I said I started to use Getting Things Done when the iPhone came out. So I'm not talking about a phone app, because the phone apps back then, that they were very rudimentary. So it was an app for my computer. So I Googled around and I found a lot of these references to the methodology, to Getting Things Done. And I actually found a Wikipedia article. I think it was 6 pages when I printed it, because, back then we printed things. And I read these 6 pages, and that was amazing. And there was a link to the book on Amazon, because of course it wasn't available here. So I went online and I ordered the book. And back then it didn't come overnight. It wasn't like Amazon Prime or anything like that. It took weeks. But eventually it showed up. And meanwhile, while I was waiting on the book, I started to fiddle around with what I found from the Wikipedia article. And then I went on a 6-week vacation to Africa, like this overlanding experience. So I had the book with me, and I read the book on the bus, and I came back home, and then I implemented it after the book as good as I could. And it completely changed my life. And to get back to your question, what kept me going? It's like I knew where I was, and I kind of realized the difference, because it was a huge difference starting to have structure and everything, and to have a system that I could put everything into. And of course, me, like everyone else, I fall off the horse as well from time to time, or the wagon, or whatever you say in your country. And that is such a good reminder, where every time you fall off the horse, like, now everything is, I miss things, I get back to this. But I have had that feeling. I know that feeling. So
how did I show up for you? What happened?
When I'm out, you mean?
Yeah. How do you know you're off?
I start to feel the creeping stress. That is the thing that, and usually what that means is that, Martin, you need to do a weekly review, because that is the feeling. Like you haven't done a weekly review for 2 or 3 weeks, and then it's like, oh, I feel it in the body. You get this feeling or thought, the creeping feeling in your body that you have something that you should really do, but you have missed it. So that is a really clear sign for me that I need to do something. And usually the first thing I do is just to sit down and do a mind sweep, and then I do my weekly review, because just doing the mind sweep will get me off the worst feeling, and then I will get into the nice place after the weekly review.
And I know that getting things done, it takes time, and when you feel the stress of not being on, and you feel that you fall off, what has been the rewards that you remember when you learned this? What I said, what kept you going? What keep you going is both falling off, but can you focus just on the really the positive parts of getting things done? What's go a little deeper on that?
I mean, the positive part is that you actually can focus on the right things. I think that is, for me at least, the important thing. And looking back at what I was able to do from the point that I actually started to use Getting Things Done, was actually to change my life quite a lot. I was working in a chaotic situation, and during this time I left the work and I started my own company, and I built a consultancy company. I had 22 employees, and I don't think I could do that in that way without actually having a super tool like Getting Things Done in my back pocket to help me, to make sure that I actually can spend the time and effort and focus on the right things at the right time. So and it gives you the peace of mind. And I mean, there's a classic saying that I think it's David Allen that said it, that I mean, you can only be feel confident about what you're doing when you know what you're not doing, and I think that is such a powerful thing. And now I've just completely butchered what you said.
You can all feel good about what you're doing when you know what you're not doing. So
exactly.
That will be the accurate quote of David Allen. But you are absolutely correct, and it is. But I just wanted to because we meet a lot of people, you and I, who want to get good at getting things done. That's our work. Our job is to help people learn getting things done. And we meet people at very different stages of life and different stages of their getting things done journey. Could you, in your own thinking and your own words about this, what are some of the things that you find people struggle with that keeps them away of getting, GTD mastery? Do you have some thinking? I'm sure you've done some thinking about that.
Yeah, I think it's quite often related to actually sticking with it, because it takes a while to actually get a habit in place, because getting things done is about habits, multiple different habits that you do. So I think you need to get it to stick, and when you has gotten it to stick, it's a lot easier. And I'm often focusing on these habits to actually start getting things out of your head. Okay, how can you do that? And then clarify things before you put them to a to-do list or into your getting things done system. Doing the weekly review, it's also a habit, something that you need to do regularly. And of course, we are doing all the time, but how are we choosing what to do? And do we have the right amount of time to do the different things we need to do? So habit is the things that I'm thinking is very important, and that to get habits in place, I think to have a accountability partner is something that for a lot of people at least can be a very good thing to have.
Indeed, I do agree.
And so if you don't have an accountability partner, go out there and look for one. It can be someone at your workplace. It can be someone in the GTD community, because we have a fantastic GTD community in the Nordics, specifically in Denmark and Norway. And I mean, even if you're not from Denmark or Norway, you can always put your nose into these places and find an accountability partner. I know that there is people that has accountability partners over the borders, so to say.
They have. And we do have the GTD Connect as well, which is it's a paid forum, but it is a great place to hang out and meet people who love GTD and want to get better. So
yeah, and you can also always get a coach as well. That's also a very much an accountability partner. That's someone that will make sure that you are doing what you should.
It's a paid tutor, if you may. Now, one of the things that I've been thinking about, just to elaborate a little on what keeps us for learning, getting things done. I talked to a client this morning, or a potential client this morning, who's a struggling GTDer who wants to give this to her research organization here in Norway, and she told me that one of the things that she's struggling with is that she has her old habits, the way that she did things before. And to get good at getting things done, you should not forget what you did before, but you should not do it. Which means that if you get a hybrid between your old and the new you will struggle over time. And if you go, if not all in on getting things done, do a clean mind sweep on a regular basis, as you said, just to build the habit. Then that can then become a routine for you, and then you just have to continue and expand on that. So, well, I want to move in a little closer on Martin, and because you're running, getting things done in Sweden, and but you are a father and a husband, and tell us a little about how what's your situation and how's life?
Absolutely. So I live in the south of Sweden, almost in Denmark actually. So when we are going on vacations and things, we take the train over and we fly from Denmark. So that's how close it is since we have the bridge. I am a father. I'm a father of 4. I don't know when to stop, apparently. Yeah. But I also have twins in the middle. So, well, it's 4 or 3, depending on how you count. But I have 4 kids, 2 boys and 2 girls. And they are fantastic, of course. I love them a lot. And I have a wife, and she is Italian. So that means
Fantastico.
Exactly. We have a very special language situation at home. So we speak 3 languages at home. So it's Swedish, English, and Italian. So my youngest one, she's very confused. Sometimes she speaks a little bit Swedish, and there's a few Italian words in the sentences, and then there is a little bit of English. So this morning she talked about carrots, and I had to think about what are you talking about, because carrots, it's not carrots in Swedish, it's morötter in Swedish. So I didn't understand at all what she was talking about, because I was thinking she was talking Swedish, but it was English. So interesting.
Indeed.
And as I live here and with the family and the dog, and it's a fantastic life here in the south.
Yeah, and I know that you have, and I will give you the opportunity to promote your YouTube channel, because you have a YouTube channel for those who are interested in outdoor hiking.
Yes,
or hiking mostly happens outdoor, I guess. So it's
that's why there's not so much happening during the winter on the channel, because the indoor hikes are very short. No, I have an outdoors channel because I love being outdoors as well. So I hike, and specifically now when it starts to be light outside and there is green on the trees, it's so nice to be out. So I record my hikes and I post them on YouTube. So I have a channel called Nordic Wilderness where my hikes can be viewed. Not in real time. I cut them down so they are shorter, because I hike every few days.
So Nordic Wilderness, if you're interested in following Martin there, and one of the things that I remember from your YouTube channel, because I've been following it, is that you went into a cave. And that was both very interesting, but also fairly bit claustrophobic. Was looking at a horror movie where you have your children inside a very narrow cave. So I looked at it with my wife, and we both went, I'm not sure I would go in there. So
that was very scary actually. So there is in the north of Skåne, we have a town called Kristianstad, and outside of Kristianstad there is a cave that you can go into. And it's actually quite big. So you can walk around in the main hall, but there is also a small tunnel that you can crawl into, and you can find another hall inside.
And my claustrophobia now is on full,
oh, yeah.
full on.
and just to paint the picture a little bit, for me to get into the second hall, I had to crawl, and it was just so I could get my head and shoulder through the hole. That's how narrow it was for a bite.
Okay.
And I think this
enough
tunnel
details.
was 7 meters or something like that. And then also, if you have some other phobias, there was bats inside as well. So we didn't see them when we were in the cave, but I can see it in the video that there is a bat flying in front of the camera. So that was funny.
Okay.
The kids loved it. It was they had a big fun, but they are not so big, so it's easier for them to not get stuck in the tunnels. Yeah, but that is the kind of things that I like to do: explore the outdoors and the wilderness.
I'm not sure how this ties into the wilderness channel, the Nordic Wilderness YouTube channel ties into your GTD, but I'm sure you use getting things done to plan your trips and
absolutely
make sure you get everything you need, like emergency flare and whatever you need to get out of a bat cave. I
need to add that to my list. I actually need an emergency flare. That would be cool. Yeah. No, of course I have a checklist and. How do you create these checklists? Of course, when you forget something, and when you're out hiking for 3 days and you forget the matches, that's not so fun. So
No.
some of the things on the checklist is from the hard learnings you've done. So checklists I have mainly for that.
Yeah,
And,
me too. I do.
And also
Not that I go bat caving, yes, but yes.
No, and also when you do a YouTube video, it seems like just a small thing that you film and then you put it out, but there is actually multiple steps in this.
Yeah.
And if you want to do
I
it
do.
even more complicated, maybe add on a little bit of drone shots. And if you live in a country like Sweden, you can just post drone shots to YouTube, because then you will end up in, maybe not in prison, but it's illegal. You need to have permits to spread aerial photography. And that makes this a whole project to just make a YouTube video. So you need to plan it, and you need to have all of these different steps that you need to go through to make this YouTube video. So I definitely use getting things done there.
Yeah, I can imagine that, and there is I think especially maybe the drones. I don't know if your legislation has been narrowed in after we have this situation in Ukraine, where you are not still member of NATO, and Russians maybe want to have a look into what you are doing, and we have had the problems here in Norway with Russians flying drones. Tourists flying drones. So I don't know if that might be tied into everything, but okay, so just moving along, I'm sure people will enjoy hearing about your tools, because that's something we always get good feedback on. What tools are you using for your GTD system? So let's start with capture. How do you capture?
I have one system that I use that is kind of the core for my getting things done system, and that is OmniFocus today. I've been using a lot of tools in the past, but OmniFocus is the core today, because I'm mainly on the Mac ecosystem. So I do a lot of capture straight into OmniFocus. I have a really fancy keyboard, a mechanical keyboard with it looks like a spaceship, so I can program the keys. So I have a specific key that is dedicated on my keyboard. You can do this without a special keyboard as well. It's just you set up OmniFocus to do it. So I use that a lot to capture things, and I also capture a lot on my phone straight into OmniFocus, because for me I think that is a good way of doing things. Sometimes though I use the voice recorder on the phone as well if I feel I'm in a situation where I don't want to type. But since I always have my phone with me, that is the main tool for capture. When I'm here in the office, sometimes it's just easier to write. I don't know why, but sometimes I also capture on paper. But that's very short-lived. It goes into OmniFocus very quickly.
Okay, so your OmniFocus is your list system and part of your capture system.
Yeah.
And so what do you use for calendar and email integration? Do you use something?
I use the normal Mac calendar because I have multiple calendars, and I think that the Mac calendar, that is the native calendar, it can place the calendars on top of each other, independently of where the calendar comes from. So if it comes from Google, or if it's the Apple calendar, or if it's a Proton Mail calendar, or if it's from Office 365 or whatever, wherever your calendar is, you can get it into that, and you can get that overall view on your hard landscape. So I like that a lot. I don't like the Mac email app. I just don't like it. It's just me. It's a personal thing. So I use the web apps for the different mails. So I go into the different mail apps a few times a day to look at them and work with them. So that is how it. And then I can just email things into OmniFocus if I need to if I want to get it into my OmniFocus inbox, which I do heavily.
Okay, yeah, because that is going to be a question for people, is that because one of the holy grails of getting things done system-wise is that you need a connection between the next action and the email. So how is that handled if you email into OmniFocus, how do you get the link between, how do you get inbox zero?
I have, you can see, depending on a little bit about the email system, I have a folder or I have a tag where that is my action support. So that's where I put the things that I need to do that is related to next actions. But my next actions, they live in my OmniFocus. So my email as such, there is nothing in my email that needs to be done. There may be references in there that I need when I'm doing something, but the bookmark or the thing I need to, it's all in OmniFocus. OmniFocus is the truth, and that is also because I have a moderate amount of email. If I would have a lot of emails, that may have been different, right? But this works fine for me. I may email maybe 5-10 emails per day from my email into OmniFocus. So that's not too much, but that's how I like it. So OmniFocus has the truth for me. But I can also say that I have tried a lot of things because I'm one of these people that loves tools, shiny things, building automations.
I know.
So I have had different things before, but the last, I think 6 months, the last year maybe, I'm kind of going to make things more simple. I had so simplify the structures because that reduces drag for me when I use the system. It's I mean, to have an advanced and complex system with a lot of automation, that may be very good and that may help you a lot, but sometimes you need to think about, okay, how do I kick off this automation? What do I need to do to be able to use this automation? And that may be providing drag or resistance to using the tool. So I've gone down the routes. For me right now, it's simplicity and keep it bare bones as far as I can.
Yeah.
So remove if I can remove something, I try to do it.
That is always a good idea if you're a GTDer, to remove anything that you can that you don't need, or that you might think you don't need. So to just remove every friction point you can. We have been talking about this before we started it in the pre-show, that we should talk a little bit about Salesforce, because you have a background in Salesforce. How did you get into Salesforce?
Oh, I've been doing Salesforce as long as I've been doing getting things done, actually, or almost as long as I've been using getting things done. So I was the product owner for Salesforce at a company, and then the consultancy company that I started with the 22 employees that I mentioned before, that was a Salesforce consultancy. So I was working with that for many years. So that's essentially how I got into it, and it was more. This was just like everything else, a coincidence that it was Salesforce and nothing else. And now maybe you sit here and listening to this podcast and you think, Salesforce, what is that? It's a CRM system from the beginning, but nowadays it's more of a platform, so you can do a lot of things on it. But the CRM part is still a big one. So if you're in sales, you probably know it, but if you're not in sales, you may not have heard too much about Salesforce in the past.
And a CRM is a customer relationship management software. Yeah. So it is a way to. It's like an Outlook on steroids, if you may.
Yeah. It started out as not Salesforce as such, but CRM system started out as like a Rolodex, essentially, a list of business cards, and then it's been added on with functionality like opportunity management, lead management, all this stuff that you may need as a salesperson. But one thing that can be interesting for a GTD is that there is also a task system built into Salesforce, right? So normally how that's being used in Salesforce is that you can say that in 2 weeks I'm going to call this person, or I'm going to email this person, or I need to follow up on this opportunity, or you need to do something. And those tasks are not too complex. I mean, you can write a subject line, you can tie it to a person or a thing, a who and a what, essentially. and you can put some dates and if it's recurring and those kind of things to a task. But that is essentially what you can do, and that's essentially what it's been for the last 10 years. It hasn't changed too much in Salesforce.
Yeah, but you have an idea, don't you?
Oh, well, it's from the beginning it was your idea, so I shouldn't take the credit here, or it was your thought at least, and then we talked about it on and off. And that is, of course, since I have this background as a Salesforce person, it could be interesting to see, okay, or explore what we could do on the Salesforce platform using the platform and GTD together. Can we use GTD on the Salesforce platform? And the answer to that is, of course, yes. But out of the box, it may not be that simple or easy. So that mean that we probably want to do some adjustments or customizations to the Salesforce platform. And that's easy to do on the platform. If you know Salesforce, of course. If you don't know it, it may not be that easy. And one thing that is not out of the box in Salesforce is, for example, contexts. Yes, you can tie a task to a person or an opportunity, but you don't have things like at home or at the office or on the computer. So the tasks today in Salesforce is really tied to the sales process, the sales cycle, but not to your whole life like you may want to have in your GTD system. So that is one of the things that's not there.
That is possible to create as a customization. And I think I understood you call it an app. That customization. So it will be something, if I understand correctly, that will be like a standalone thing that you connect to your Salesforce or integrate. How would you explain that to people?
I think the easiest analogy is to look at your iPhone or your Android phone. You have on iPhone, you have the App Store, and on your Android phone, you have Google Play. And here you have different applications, and you can simply just click download and install, and you have them in your phone. It works very similar on Salesforce. It's called App Exchange, and there is the thousands of applications. And you can actually click them, and you can not download them to your computer, because this is a cloud software, so it's on someone else's computer. It's in the cloud. So, but you can get it installed in your cloud. So it's very, very, very similar to that, and that can be completely your own app that is standalone from everything else in Salesforce, or it can be a customization, an add-on to what you have in Salesforce, and that is something that we could potentially build and I can add on to Salesforce that then gives like the context, for example, or maybe a quick capture feature in Salesforce to easily get things out of your head into an inbox.
Exactly. So just for me to understand this, so if there is a Salesforce user out there, how is this company wide, or is it department wide, or is it personal, the apps that you can install, just for if people are interested?
The apps are instance wide, so the whole company, and usually a user cannot install them by themselves because it's an admin that needs to do it. But it also depends on the size of the company. If you're just a few hundred people, you can probably make a case to get a tool like this into your Salesforce instance without any major problems. If you're a bigger corporation with thousands and thousands of licenses, it's maybe a bit more work you need to do internally to be able to get something like it. But it's someone that needs to install it in the org.
So it's an organizational company, organizational/company decision, like IT policy, that has to say, yes, we want to give this opportunity to people. So, no, because one of the reasons that, or maybe the main reasons why we are talking about this, is because we've been talking about before, is there any interest for this, and is it should we create something like this, and would it be would you as a GTDer using Salesforce would be interested in this this app, and just to get an idea if there's a demand for this out there. And how would they go about letting you know if they're interested? If I am some person out in the internet who's listening to our podcast or are getting tips about this from some people, how would they go about getting hold of you to show their interest?
So what we will make, or what I will make available, is a short survey, a few questions, and that I'm going to ask Morten and Lars to put into the show notes, of course. And it's going to be like a Google form where you can say, yes, this is interesting, and also provide a little bit. I will have some other questions in there as well. And the foremost and most important question is, of course, is this something that would be interesting to you? And then if you can't answer all the other questions, I think that is fine. The base interest is the most important question. But there is going to be a short survey with a few questions that's going to help us to see if there is interest for.
And I guess you're not committing to anything but showing your interest in this, and that you will,
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm not even sure I'm going to ask for who you are yet, because that's it can be completely anonymous. At this point.
I don't know. It could be. I don't know. This is just for the convenience of things, that you might make an optional email field, so that if it ever happens, you can get an email.
Absolutely.
Martin makes this. Yeah, that might be a good idea. But okay, so we will put that in the show notes, and that link to that form. So if you're interested in this app in Salesforce, and see if Martin is going to create one. We are, our time and life is not infinite, and we will like to make sure that if we are dedicating, not Lars, but Martin is dedicating some time for this, it should be something that people need and people want. So we're not going to create something, or he's not going to create something nobody's going to use. So, okay.
Absolutely.
Good. So, any thoughts on wrapping up? I know you are not going, I think, to the GTD summer camp this year. Is that correct?
No, as with the complicated in situation mark family situation with a lot of nationalities, it clashed with some Italy interests this year, unfortunately.
You are going to Italy, yeah.
I'm gonna eat some pasta.
Some pasta.
Drink some wine with my parents-in-law.
That sounds great. Okay, but no, I was thinking if you were going, maybe some people from the different countries could meet you there but next year, hopefully, you will be there.
Yeah, let's hope for that.
Okay. I'm going to ask you just one quick question at the end. Maybe you can do as elaborate as you want or as short as you want. You are a father, and I know there is a lot of fathers and parents out there listening to us. If you are new to GTD, what would you tell someone who's new to GTD about the benefits you get as a father for knowing this methodology? What would you say to them?
So I have many kids, as I said. I have 4 kids. That means it's 4 different people, 4 different lives, 4 different people with different interests. And it's not only the complexity of me, and it's not the complexity of me and my wife, it's also what they want. So the landscape gets so big, and maybe you need to help them, support them in different ways. You need to do things for them, because as a GTDer, I see my kids as areas of focus. So I could see them as projects as well, maybe, because at some point they will move out, hopefully. But for now, they are areas
and
of
interest.
focus.
Yes.
Yes. So. I want to keep the relationship I have with my kids at a certain level. And to keep my relationship with my kids at that level, I need to do different things. I need to do things with them. I need to do things for them, and so on. And so every time I do my weekly review, just to be a little bit practical, I see their names and I think a little bit about, okay, the relationship I have with them, is that where it should be, or is that something I need to do? And also everything around them. So I have that pause in the week where I actually can sit down and think a little bit about each and one of them, so I can handle that relationship, because that is what it is for me, at least. And there is of course a lot more to being a parent, but the relationship is in if you have a good relationship with your kids, they are people, human beings as well. So
they are, aren't they? So would you? I know a lot of people who says that GTD makes them a better parent. Would you agree to that?
Probably. I mean, it makes you at least a less confused parent.
More present one, maybe.
A more present, yes. Yeah, I think that is the best description. It makes you more present. With the family, and that, I think overall that's the biggest win I've had with GTD and the private life, is that you're more present, and the private life also gets enough focus, enough thinking focus, because otherwise it's so easy to think a lot about your work and that side of your life. At least for me, it's been like that, and many people I talk with is, I mean, that's, you have the whip on you. You need to produce, but how do you produce as a father? I know, we don't need to go there, but how do you
how do you make your children? Yes, we don't. That's not. This is not the podcast
I know
for that.
Way too well, but how do you deliver as a parent to in that situation? So that's how I started, and that's area of focus.
And I do agree with you. I think that the only thing that you can provide for your children, which is, you know, a roof over their head, a bed, safety, food. But when all the basic stuff's taken care of, how do you parent them? How do you show them what they need to know and what they need to feel from you as a parent to become, you know, the best versions of them. So, and I think that the presence is key here, being present.
There's also another thing that we can bring to our kids, and that is that you don't learn how to handle your work at school. You learn how to, a lot of information, maybe you learn a trade. And most of us today are knowledge workers. You don't learn how to handle your work. And if you come from a family where a parent or both parents are GTDers, you can model behaviors for your kids. So then they can see that it's possible. And then maybe when they get into the situation that they may need something like getting things done, they know where to go and know where to ask for the information.
Yes. Which brings me into, you are alluding to this, but your wife, is she a GTDer?
Not a full-fledged GTDer. She's doing some behaviors from getting things done. I'm trying, but I haven't succeeded yet.
No.
You need to have the internal motivation fully to. Yeah. But she knows where my in basket is, and that's being used a lot.
Okay, yeah, then she understands at least her value of understanding what that is.
Oh yes. And sometimes she asks me, "Isn't it time for you to do your weekly review?"
Because why would she say that? Because she feel that you're a little stressed, or what's happening?
I just think it's like sometimes when we talk about what's the plan for today, and I say today I need to do a weekly review, and if I haven't said that for a while, she usually asks me, because we had I don't know if you remember back it feels like 100 years ago. We had this app on the phones where we could talk. I completely Clubhouse was the name. And we had these chats, and she was actually joining them, so she knows a little bit about getting things done. So she knows what it is.
Yeah. Oh, good. Well, no, my recommendation to people out there is don't tell, just show. And that is the best. Just be a good GTDer yourself and get your ducks in a row, and if they are interested, they will follow suit. I think that is a good approach. So, well, I think we are at the end, Martin, at our interview. It's been very interesting to hear about your journey. I've heard some of this before, but now we have a little bit more depth. And I'm thankful that you took the time of your busy schedule with 4 kids and your business to talk to me. And I just want to thank you for attending. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to be here.
Okay. Take care, and we will talk soon, Martin. And now back to Lars and me. Bye-bye. That's so far.
Quite some time now, and I certainly learned some new things.
Yes, and so did I. And I hope that this episode has been valuable for you as a listener, and that you learned something, or a viewer if you're on YouTube. I hope that it gave you some value. And I remind you that there is going to be a link in the show note. There is a link in the show notes that you can click if you're interested in showing some interest of Martin's idea, or mine and Martin's idea about Salesforce and getting things done, an app for your Salesforce there. So please do that. Lars, will you take us out?
Happy to. And we always wrap up these episodes with a quick reminder for you to head on over to VitalLearning.eu, have a look around. You'll learn more about the different methodologies that we teach, getting things done, crucial conversations for mastering dialogue, and more. And you'll find links to the country websites. You can book meetings with us, whatever helps. You'll find all of the information there. If you're outside the Nordics, head on over to cruciallearning.com to find your local partners. And we always also just give you a quick reminder about the GTD summer camp coming up June 17 to 18. Head on over there, have a look around. We will be publishing the program very soon. There is a waiting list. You won't find the sign-up form anymore. That's been gone for a while, but send me an email, lars@vitallearning.dk, to get on that waiting list. As of this recording, 1 seat just opened up, so quick. Head on over there. Send me an email, and we'll see if the spot is still available.
Run. Do that. It's going to be a blast. I'm looking really forward to it, just to hang out with other people who care about getting things done, and learn more and deepen your getting things done knowledge, and be more present in your life. And as always, I remind you of the fact that you can subscribe and like, which is always something we like. So please subscribe and like in your podcast app and in YouTube. If you can, give us a rating if you want to do that, just to tell us that you appreciate the episodes, and that you want to help us spread it to other people. It helps. If you'll like an episode on YouTube, or subscribe to it, it tells the algorithms of YouTube that, hey, maybe we should bump this up a little. We appreciate that, and if you do the same with your podcast in your podcast app to rate us, it also helps visibility. So if you want to pay us back a little for we make good content for you, please do that. So that was my little sales pitch of today, and until next time, people, stay safe and stay productive. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. You hit the microphone.
No?
Yeah, I could hear it. So, clong.
Okay. I think maybe it is if I made...
Sorry.
Is the same clone? Now you have
No,
3 clones?
No, it was different. It was different.
Okay. I
Sorry
will
about
make a double now, so...